All right, let's talk about a problem that every single growing tech company eventually faces. How do you deal with your old code? Specifically, how do you refactor millions of lines of it without grinding your entire company to a halt? Well, today we're diving into a story about just that, with a solution that is a serious game changer. 6 million. That's not a typo. That's the number of lines of code that one of the world's biggest digital banks was staring down. 6 million lines that all had to be migrated. Just try to wrap your head around that for a second. I mean, where do you even begin with a number that big? Well, this whole story kicks off with the financial tech giant Nubank. And for them, this wasn't just some technical cleanup project. It was a massive problem that was becoming a direct threat to their ability to innovate and grow. You know how something that works great at first can, over time, just become a total monster? That's exactly what happened here. Their core data system had been chugging along for 8 years, but it had turned into this tangled behemoth. We're talking dependency chains that were 70 layers deep. Imagine a Jenga tower 70 levels high. You can't touch anything without the whole thing threatening to crash. This wasn't just messy code. It was the number one thing slowing the whole company down and preventing them from building new stuff for their customers. So, they obviously had to fix it. And their first plan? Well, let's just say it was the old school brute force approach. It was going to be a massive manual grind. And when I say brute force, I mean it. Check this out. The plan was to throw over 1,000 engineers at this problem. 1,000. And they figured it would take them, get this, 18 months. A year and a half of the company's smartest people just doing cleanup work instead of building the future. And you got to think about the human side of this. This is the exact kind of work that engineers absolutely hate. It's not creative, it's not innovative. It is, and I'm quoting here, the monotonous, repetitive work that engineers dread. It's the kind of soul-crushing task that just burns people out. But just when it looked like they were in for this long, painful slog, something changed. A new player entered the game, and it was about to flip the entire script. This is where an AI engineer named Devin comes into the picture. So you're probably wondering, what exactly is Devin? Is it just a fancy autocomplete tool? And the answer is a big no. This is something different. It's being called an AI software engineer because it's designed to handle the whole process, end to end. It can plan what needs to be done, write the actual code, test it for problems, and then go back and fix any issues it finds, all on its own. Now, this is the really crucial part. How they used it. They didn't just fire their team and hand the keys over to the AI. Not at all. It was a partnership. First, the human engineers would do a task manually to show Devin what a good migration looks like. Kind of like training a new junior developer. Then, they delegate all the boring, repetitive work to Devin. All the humans had to do was come in at the end, review the finished work, and give it a thumbs up. They got to skip the grunt work and focus on what matters, the high-level review. So the difference is just night and day. On one hand, you have the manual way. Slow, tedious, and let's be honest, we all make mistakes when we're bored or tired. On the other hand, you have Devin's work. Fast, autonomous, and totally consistent. It never gets tired or makes a sloppy mistake at 4 p.m. on a Friday. Okay, so let's get to the good part, the results. Because this is where the story goes from interesting to absolutely mind-blowing. Remember that 18-month timeline? Yeah, they basically put that thing on hyperdrive. Let's break it down. For a single migration task, it used to take a human engineer about 40 minutes of that tedious work. With Devin doing the heavy lifting, it now took that same engineer just 10 minutes to review the finished product. That's a 4x improvement on every single task. Now imagine that multiplying across tens of thousands of tasks. The savings add up, and they add up fast. But it gets even crazier. When you zoom out and look at the total engineering hours saved across the whole project, the overall efficiency gain was a staggering 12 times. A 12x improvement. To put that in perspective, for every full day an engineer would have spent on this, it now took less than an hour of their time. It's a massive leap. And of course, when you save that much time, you save a ton of money. The bottom line impact here was a 20x cost saving on the work they delegated to Devin. 20 times cheaper. That's not just an improvement, That's the kind of thing that completely changes how you budget for a project like this. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. This is what Jose Carlos Castro, a senior product manager at Nubank, had to say. He basically confirmed that the whole workflow for his team changed for the better. They went from being bogged down in the weeds to operating at a higher, more strategic level. It literally transformed their day-to-day jobs. So, okay, this is a huge win for Nubank. But what does a success story like this mean for the future of building software? Well, when you see a problem of this scale get solved this efficiently, you start to realize the rulebook is being rewritten right in front of us. And a tool like this is definitely not just for giant refactoring projects. Think about it. You could use it to implement new features, finally clear out all those annoying bugs in the backlog that nobody wants to touch, handle painful version upgrades, or even modernize an entire codebase. This is a tool for getting rid of the old junk and for building the new stuff faster. And that really gets to the heart of it. The ultimate goal here isn't just about speed or cost, as incredible as those numbers are. The real prize is freeing up your most expensive, most creative people, your engineers, so they can focus on what you hired them to do, solve interesting problems, and build better products for your customers. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. After seeing how an AI engineer helped conquer a 6 million line monster of a project, it really makes you wonder, what tangled, time-consuming tasks are sitting in your own backlog, just waiting for a new approach? What could a tool like this unlock for you and your team? Thanks for joining us.